Brad, it's great to finally get you in front of the camera here, one of the unsung heroes at the Shots. You do a lot at the club, as us behind the scenes know, but tell us a bit more about your role at the club.
So yeah, nice to finally be on camera, something completely different. I'm not used to, but I will give it a go. So my role sort of is everything under the sports science banner. Like, see, my role's head of sports science. So that sort of encompasses everything from warm-ups to strength conditioning to training load monitoring, supplementation, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of people see me as just the warm-up guy, like even my sister calls me the warm-up guy. But yeah, it's a lot more than that. See, the training day, I'll try and get something completely different for the players, so they're not doing the same thing. See, the late stage rehabilitation of players, obviously that's different for every injury, every individual. So that takes up a lot of my time when obviously people are at that stage. On a match day, a lot of the supplementation, you see me chucking waters on, gels on, just to try and get 110% out of the players. And then sort of a lot more this season, a lot more of the gym work, a lot more of the pre-activation. I've probably already said that, but never mind. And then also you see me running with the players after the game. But yeah, that's quite a broad thing. I'll sort of dip my toes into everything to try and sort of physically prepare the players as best I can to perform 90 minutes on the weekend to the best they can.
So a lot goes into the role now, and a lot goes into working to get this role as well, and you've worked your way up kind of through the club as well, haven't you? So how did you get into this?
So I done my undergraduate degree in sport and exercise science at the University of Surrey. In the third year there was a sandwich placement year which I done with the academy. So that was with like Ross McNeely, Rich who's still there, obviously James and Ryan as well. That learnt so much, Michael as well. Learnt loads, loved it, literally loved coming to work every day. I know it's still just an internship, but it was brilliant. And that just sort of gave me a drive to sort of keep pushing in the sort of football field. Fortunately, George's was kind enough to offer me a role to come into the first team at the end of that season, which I'd done alongside my third year at Surrey. Done that, had a great year with Adam and Kieran. And then at the end of that year, the gaffer offered me the role going forwards, and I've been here ever since. So this is my third season now with the first team, and yeah, obviously having a blast. Start of last season, started a master's degree at Solent Uni as well in football science, so just trying to broaden my knowledge within football and trying to improve myself as a practitioner every day. And again, going back to how I ended the last question, get 110% out the players for 90 minutes on a Saturday.
And it's one where you've gone full circle almost, because now you've got interns yourself, haven't you? It's a very popular field, and you've been lucky to have some help throughout the years, and you've got some new interns this year. But maybe a nice moment for you to go full circle and be almost teaching students.
I know, it's brilliant. Obviously, well, not obviously, because it's another unsung hero that the people don't really see. A couple of years ago we had Jonathan. Last year we had Joe and Rishi. This year we've now got Lily and Michael, who I've only known them for a week, but they've been a great help. And yeah, they're behind the scenes. They're so important. The little things, they just sort of assist my field, the sports therapy field, and Reese, like Joe, like Reese was himself. But yeah, see, they're more unsung heroes and deserve a little bit of a shout out because they're top people.
Well, we've got back into pre-season training. It's almost probably full swing now and back in normal routine for yourself. It's just a week ago, so what have the lads kind of been up to? What's the kind of routine for them in that first week?
So yeah, obviously pre-season, you hear the cliches now, it's not pre-season anymore because they have their whole off-season plans and whatnot. That takes a part of my off-season, so getting them plans in place so that when they do come back to the pre-season, they're sort of not like it used to be. They've got a little bit of capacity in the tank already. But obviously the first week, initially it's about getting touches on the ball, getting players back into football. It's a completely different environment to running individually. It's a complete different thing, running compared to football. but you also have to be cautious of it's a big spike in training load, so you've got to be cautious them first few sessions. You don't want to send someone into the deep end into 90 minutes from the off. That's sort of where injuries occur. Obviously, no injuries you can sort of predict, but it's all about risk mitigation and trying to condition people rather than condition people alongside reducing injury risk. So then the first week sort of tended to be quite big space, sort of getting the lungs working, getting their bodies back into football routine. This week sort of progressed the space down a little bit so that it's a lot more touches on the ball, it's more intense, it's not such big space, long runs, it's short, sharp, getting up to speed, that sort of thing, as they sort of get more conditioned.
So Brad, does that mean then that in pre-season there is more of a higher load for players in the first few weeks, or is it one of those myths that gets spread around that they hate to come back because it's pure hard work?
Well, like you say the word load, it's quite an ambiguous word. Load is something that's very relative. So there's so many different types of load, like the physical, the tactical, the technical, all them different things. But obviously the first week people go from not doing as much in their off-season plans. They're still doing something, but not as much, and then they're increasing from that. It's still an increase in load, but it's not comparative to what they would be doing in season when they'd be doing 90 minutes week in, week out.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to get to a point where it ramps up and up to sort of condition the players. It's definitely it's getting tougher now, 100%, but it's still not going to be the same as doing 90 minutes Saturday, Tuesday, but obviously we're working up to that point so that they can. Obviously there's some clubs you see that are doing different types of training. They're running around tracks, running through the woods, which there's no blueprint to a perfect pre-season, but we sort of aim to try and condition players to play football, and you're not going to do that necessarily as much by running around something when getting the balls involved is the stimulus that they play with. So that's sort of how we do things.
And this weekend we'll be doing exactly that. We'll be kicking off pre-season properly by getting some game time in. Now, is that kind of another one where you need to build things up? You can't obviously maybe chuck in the first team, as it were, for those 90 minutes.
Yeah, well, match play's the biggest training stimulus, if you like, that we have. Regardless, obviously it's a match, that's what we're preparing for, but it still is a stimulus that conditions the players to get fitter. So you don't see many teams chucking in their first team for 90 minutes straight away. It's going to be a gradual increase. We've been doing sort of things alike in training, like 11v11 for a decent period of time, but when you put it all in 45 minutes, it's going to be harder than anything we've done yet. It's going to be step by step. It's going to be 45s to start, and then we'll progress up slowly so that when it comes to the season, players have got a decent amount of minutes in their tank where they can get through 90, but then obviously the season we can still use as a tool to condition players further so that we just keep progressing, keep getting fitter, and as the season goes on we're able to run as much as we can or as close to.
And then I suppose, Brad, that the conditioning you're doing this pre-season is all kind of part of what I guess you could maybe call injury prevention. Now, when you look at last season on paper, there were a lot of our injuries that were quite hard to prevent, I guess you could say. So that's a tough one to maybe call, but that also then works towards the injury rehabilitation, which is another part that you work on in your role, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, you said you called it injury prevention. I don't think there's any way to sort of prevent all injuries. I think the aim is to mitigate the risk as much as possible. But you're right, there was definitely a lot of injuries last season, something aimed to reduce this season. There was some that are sort of uncontrollable that you look at, you sort of think about, and you don't know how they happened. Ones where people coming on for 4 minutes and them happening and end up people being out for a long time. As a part of the off season, I've spent sort of planning to be a lot more individualized in the stuff I do for the players, with the aim to try and mitigate as much risk as possible in terms of injury, which is something I work every day to try and get a more specific pre-activation session in for each player, so that they're getting that sort of micro dose of load, physical training load, so that they're reduced risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, that can only do so much. It's another thing working with players in the gym as well to try and build strength so that it ends up preventing injuries that you never know.
Yeah.
You never know the impact it has. Something hard to measure. But yeah, going on to sort of the rehab side of things, so that's a big part of my role as well. At the moment, I'm quite quiet with that, but I know sort of give it a month or so and we'll be quite busy with some of the players we've got returning. The late stage is really important for the players when they're coming back to injury, because when they're back on the grass, they're at a heightened risk of re-injury. They're at heightened risk of injuring elsewhere. It's almost as if it's like a mini pre-season.
Yeah.
They need to be conditioned in a way specific to them rather than just being conditioned as a general footballer. Players need to be exposed to scenarios they're going to be in and work to the point where they're both confident and they're capable. But I look forward to doing some rehab with some of the players we've got out currently and getting them back on the pitch.
Yeah, brilliant. And one of the tools, I guess, that sort of helps with that thing is maybe your GPS stuff, which to some of our untrained eyes might just look like a sports bra or something that the players are wearing, but that has a purpose, of course. That has their GPS trackers in, and I see you travelling back from away games. You're always got your head in your laptop looking at all the data you get from that, and helping you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's so important with the return to play side, because when we've got data from a fit player, we've always got a reference point of where they are physically.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect tool at all, but it's definitely a big help. So when we're conditioning players, we know where we're getting them back to. It's not just, he's fit, he's not fit. We have numbers we want to try and meet so that we know that someone can withstand or that amount of training load. But yeah, also with the healthy side of the squad, it's something that we can use to monitor what they do on the pitch. There's no perfect way of doing it as well. Like, we use that in a combination of things like wellness monitoring, RPEs, rating of perceived exertion. But it gives us an idea of how much work they've done, at what risk they are for injury, with different sort of ratios. And as well as that, it's taught me a lot on Excel, and I'm quite handy with a formula or two now.